Colonel Rob Maness has a lifelong record of providing dedicated service to this nation. Having worked his way up from the enlisted ranks to full colonel, he served our country for more than 32 years. He has served as a bomber squadron commander, bomb disposal technician, Joint Chiefs of Staff operations officer, assisted the national security team with the campaign plan for the global war on terrorism. He authored the first theater nuclear war plan and served as the vice commander of America's largest airborne intelligence wing. Colonel Rob Maness is a true American hero. This is Rob Maness Live.
Jamie spent years in the school business, coaching, principaling, and other things. So always like to get Jamie's opinion on things. We're going to dabble our way to school choice at some point this morning and get an educator's opinion or a former educator's opinion on school choice. Who knows better, a 20-plus year veteran of the school business or a bunch of conservative think tankers who have kids in private schools that just want those schools paid for? We'll talk to the educator on the former educator on that, not the people who have a financial vested interest in school choice passing so they can get their kids' education paid for, their kids' private school education paid for, or a bunch of these think tankers who are invested into, what are those other schools called? Charter. Thank you. I can never remember that word because I use it in no other sense. I would never use the word charter for any other reason except to say charter schools. That word nowhere in my vocabulary for any other reason.
Charter some whiskey.
Yes, well, old charter. Yes.
Yes.
And apparently that's what they call NASCAR teams now. They're charters. So yes, these people who are vested in charter schools, again, that will financially benefit from school choice. Just ask the donors of people like Jason White. You know, his biggest donors. They're heavily vested into school choice passing in Mississippi because they want to make a lot of money on charter schools, which I don't have a problem with. I don't have a problem with them making money on charter schools. Just let go of this public to public transfer idea. Just be honest about why you're doing it. It ain't about the damn kids. It ain't about the kids. If y'all were about the kids, you'd fix JPS. Not continue to gut it and say, let's just let the kids from there. Let's just let the good kids from there go somewhere else. No. Go fix JPS. If you really care about the kids, if it's about the kids, fix JPS. Fix these other failing districts in the state. Don't just say, screw it. Let's just let the kids go somewhere else. We ain't gonna do that. Not on my watch.
Yeah. If you want to start somewhere too, Clay, go to the Mississippi Delta. You know, if you want to talk about school choice and you want to do all these other things, start in the Mississippi Delta. You know, because that's the issues we really need to fix. Those kids that have very little resources. You know, what are those kids' choices going to be when it comes down to school choice? You can't ship them anywhere or you can't bus them anywhere. That's not going to be feasible. I mean, you're looking at moving, you know, sending a kid on an hour and a half, 2-hour bus ride. Fix it up there, and then you'll convince me that I might consider school choice at some point in time.
Welcome back to Truth Thursday, folks. The Rob Maness Show is live on Worldview Tube and our X Spaces simulcast. Education freedom should mean making the best school choice policies for who? You just heard it, the kids. Here in Mississippi, education freedom or school choice is a high priority for our State House of Representatives Speaker this coming year. His name is Jason White. You just heard his name in that opening clip. And for a lot of conservatives like me who've been advocating for it, it's been a high priority for me for many, many years now. The idea is to take our successes that we've achieved in recent years in testing and those kinds of things, which we've had some successes, but make things even better by making sure that kids aren't trapped in failing schools, or the kids have the resources to do the things they need to do. Like in my case, when I homeschooled my autistic son in junior high and high school, I was just left with no more capability in the public school system, and I had to do something to help it. The challenges are really complex, and there's a lot of work to do, and it's got to be done to do the right thing on these policies because the focus has to be on the kids. And different areas of the state are likely going to need different solutions that fit the circumstances of those families and communities. You just heard a little snippet there. We have to ensure that we don't place one-size-fits-all policies across the entire state. and that there's a proper oversight over things like the use of public dollars when it comes to charter and private schools. That's a concern I've had the whole time that I've been involved in this policy development debate over education freedom or school choice. We'll find the best answers by encouraging public debate and talking things out. And that's why I've invited today's guest on the show to discuss the issue. He and I are most often on the same side of public policy issues, but I've discovered, because he reached out to me, that there are some conservatives, including him, that are opposed to school choice as it is developing in our state. So it's important that folks like he and I, we get together and we publicize our views so that this policy effort, as it's really starting to get rolling, addresses those concerns, and we make sure that the right choices are being made for the kids. So my guest today is well-known radio talk show host Clay Edwards in Jackson, Mississippi. He hosts the Clay Edwards Show on 103.9 WYAB in Jackson, Mississippi, the capital of our state. He's also known, and this is going to be a good show, as Mississippi's most incendiary talk radio show and podcast. Clay, welcome back to the Rob Maness Show, sir. It's been too long.
Colonel, thank you, brother. I've really been looking forward to this. I went and bought a dry erase calendar just to hang it here in my studio so I could write this date on it. That is a true story, but it's hanging right over here to over my right shoulder here. I was like, I did not want to mess this up, didn't want to forget it. I've just put it in my brain and I didn't forget stuff, but here lately I've been forgetting stuff, and I was like, man, I do not want to miss this. I wanted to see it every day. I appreciate the opportunity, and you really stole my thunder a little there, because I was going to say the same exact thing that you did about we can't have one size fits all. There's a whole nother layer to this onion that's got to be peeled back, where there's a lot of conservatives. Yeah, let me circle back here. First off, this is what MAGA is. This is what making America great again is. It's the marketplace of ideas, and not shouting each other down that it's my way or no way. It's having respectful debate, conversation. Even so, I don't know if this is going to be a debate, a respectful conversation about each other's concerns and what we would like to see come from this moving forward. And I appreciate the opportunity, because you can't do this with Democrats. Democrats can't do this with Democrats. See the government see the Schumer shutdown as example A.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You know why I put that one size fits all line in there? Just yesterday, I got a picture sent to me of a school that my dad's 12-member brother and sister family, when they were farmers' kids growing up, went to school in, and the building had been flattened over the last couple of days. Well, I was a victim of a one size fits all policy called busing. And so were all the other kids that were in that school. And in my 11th grade year, I was going to graduate with my class of 12 the following year from that school. It's called Beach Bluff High School in Madison County, Tennessee. They started busing, and that program is a disaster even today. They still do it, and it's a continued disaster. So before we jump onto a policy like that and condemn kids and families to have to live with it for several generations, we better be damn sure we're as close to being right as we can be, shouldn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to start this by saying I like Speaker of the House Jason White. I have a lot of respect for Jason. He's always been respectful to me. He's given me shout outs here and there. We're just on another side on this one, and I've sunk my teeth into this, and I've made it my hill to die on, so to say. I'm not against choice. I'm against public to public transfer. I agree with 66% of this thing. It's 33 a third that I have a disagreement with. I'm okay with the charter schools. I'm okay with the money following the student around for the most part. That's not my gripe. You're paying the taxes. You should be able to choose how you spend that money, in my opinion. What I would like to see is a guy who does not have a child in school anymore is I would like to see a tax credit if I'm not using the schools personally. I know that's never going to happen, but let me throw that Hail Mary out there and just float that idea. But obviously, it's the public to public. Yeah. And you've heard the Democrats often speak of the Michigan problem. It's the Muslims that have taken over towns like Dearborn, so they can't have a Jewish. That's why they didn't have Shapiro as the vice president on that ticket with Kamala, stuff like that. Well, here in Jackson, in Mississippi, we have the Jackson problem. And people in the Tri-County area, and I'm just going to jump straight to this, and we can go back to wherever you
go
want.
right in. Go right in. That's where I was going to go anyway. Was
I want people to understand my perspective here, because the reel that you showed there is pretty intense, but it was part of a greater conversation, and I forgot about that, so I appreciate you showing that. We have the Jackson problem here, and there's no way by the modern definition of racism. I understand that this is going to come across and it's going to sound racist, and I don't intend for it to. I want to put that out there, but there's no other way to say it. The new phrase that I've been using a lot is culture rot, and there's a cultural rot in Jackson, Mississippi, and other third world Democrat hellholes like it. And the people like myself and others who have moved out of Jackson, and I was one of the last to leave about 3 years ago. I basically cut the lights out when I left. I'm kidding a bit. My parents still live there, but
yeah,
a lot of people left. A lot of people were forced to leave 25 or so years ago, and they moved out here to where I'm at now, Brandon, just right over in Rankin County, part of what we call the Tri-County. For those that don't know, there's Hinds County, which is where Jackson's at. There's Madison County, and also Madison, the city, is inside Madison County. So that's a little confusing sometimes. And then there's Rankin County, which is Pearl, Brandon, Flowood, Pisgah, Puckett. I can go on, Pillahatchee. I can go on and on. And then in Madison County, you have Ridgeland, Madison, Gluckstadt, Canton, which Canton is a blue city inside of a super red county. We call it Baby Jackson. The same thing. It's ate up by Democrat culture rot. Democrat death culture, as my buddy Kim Wade calls it, from the Kim Wade show. And I'm just going to be honest, man, we were all forced to move if we wanted to send our kids to better schools. I was at a low point financially in my life after my nightclubs had closed about 12, 13 years ago, 2010. 2011, I got into the car business. I was not making enough money to keep all the bills I had accumulated, lost everything, had to go live with my parents in my mid to late 30s with my daughter. That was in Jackson because their neighborhood got annexed by Jackson. So they were no longer in the Hinds County School District, which compared to Jackson is way better. We weren't grandfathered in. So we had to move my daughter legally, in with my grandmother out in Florence, Mississippi, in Rankin County. So she had a chance to go to a better school that wasn't a Jackson public school and be an extreme minority in that school. And call it a failing school district would be a compliment as far as JPS goes. A lot of us had to pay a sacrifice. A lot of people had to sell their property, lose money, make a tough decision, make a choice. That's the word here, choice, right? Parents should have a choice in their kids' school. That's how the think tankers have packaged this, and they tell you that 80% or 70%, whatever this large majority percentage is, that they tell you are for school choice. They're not telling them what the question they're asking is, should parents have a say-so in their children's education? Well, the answer to that is always yes. And for like the last 100 years, parents have had a say-so in their children's education, and it's where you choose to live and send your kids to school. And look, it's tough. It is very tough. I had to make sacrifices. A lot of people have had to move. They've had to downsize to be able to afford to move. That is the American way. That is the patriarchy. That is capitalism. You've got to pull your bootstraps up. And I know that it's tough. It is. I get it. Well, that's why these neighborhoods, these suburbs are what they are. It's why they're nice. It's why they're nice houses out here. It's why people come out here and they act right. It's why we don't have the crime like a Jackson does. It's why Brandon's not the murder capital of America, because people have made tough choices to come out here and live. We don't want the cultural rot. I don't think anybody deserves a free pass to come out here and based on, well, we're just going to send our kids to school there, but we choose to stay over here in this lawless third world Democrat hellhole because, we kind of like the loosey-goosey. We like to be able to ride dirty with our pot and, the Democrat policies over here, but they have screwed up education. But so we want to take advantage of living loosey-goosey and then send our kids to y'all schools where y'all have chosen to tighten the belt buckle and do all things the right way. And
that's one of the questions I had for you. One of the questions I had for you, Clay, are those, with this cultural rot in Jackson, are those parents really interested in sending their kids to the system in Brandon and in those outlying areas, or
absolutely
is it really?
I firmly believe so. I've got friends who are in the Pearl School District, for example. My house is a block from Brandon Middle School, 3 or 4 blocks from Brandon High School. I'm right here in the center of it all. And I can only speak for Pearl because I've spoken. The mayor's a friend of mine. The superintendent is a guy that I've gotten to know a little bit lately. And I know for a fact that Pearl has had to put up tag readers to catch parents from Hinds County, from Jackson, using another address and dropping their kids off. And other schools have done it throughout the state too. But I know I can go on the record and say Pearl is doing it. And, you know, look, man, I've seen these kids, I've seen these parents. One of the things they like to say is it's going to be parents at Clay. It's parents that got skin in the game. That's their term they like to use. But these are parents that got skin in the game that can take the time to pick their kids up and drop them off and do all the things that are involved there. And I'm not saying that doesn't exist. I want to be clear here. It goes back to there is one size fits all here.
Yeah.
But, you know, what that also tells me is, oh, that's a parent that may be on Section 8 that has the time to do that. Because I was talking to a young black lady, a lady in her mid-30s. She was a waitress out here at one of the restaurants in town, one of the bartenders at one of the restaurants by my house. And she overheard me and a lady friend discussing the school choice stuff. And my lady friend is a lobbyist, so she's very involved in politics. She's interested in this stuff. So we were discussing it, and we got into a conversation, and she had overheard the conversation I just had about the skin in the game. She's like, well, hold on. She says, I work in Brandon. I live in Jackson. I would love to be able to send my kids to Brandon, but because I have 3 jobs, physically, I can't do it. Do I not have skin in the game? Because I do my daughter's homework with her every night. I'm very involved in my kid's life. I care about my children, but I don't have skin in the game because I don't have time to pick them up and drop them off. And there's a whole other layer to this thing that they're not looking at here.
Oh, you're right, man. So I heard you say it, and the gentleman you were talking to in the clip, and I had a conversation with a state rep that once, I believe he was the chairman of the education committee in the House, about the Delta. And you know, you said, hey, fix Jackson Public Schools, focus on that. And he said, go to the Delta, figure out what you can do there. How can you fix that? Because you can't bus them 2 hours. That's never going to work, by the way, as a victim of that policy, that kind of policy. It just doesn't work. So what are the ideas out there around those 2 specific areas? And I'm sure there's more than just the Jackson and the Delta areas in the state that need to be looked at from that perspective. Are you hearing any sound policy ideas from the administration or from the legislators and their policy developers about how to address that? Or is it all just, no, we got to go with pure school choice, et cetera?
First part of your question, no, I have not heard any solution for that. Not to say that those conversations aren't happening. I haven't peeled back that onion and had those conversations with anybody. Nobody has mentioned to me, hey, yeah, Clay, but we're doing this. Because I've been kind of the outspoken guy in the area. So I'm getting a lot of information from people who are very interested in this topic. So yeah, you have a Delta problem because of logistics. What's going to work in the Delta? I don't know how you fix that. Though, even if you kept the public aspect available for them, you're right. They're going to drive 2 hours one way every day.
Well, yeah. I mean, when I was talking to my state rep, that's who I was talking to, Richard Bennett, about this a while back. He went and took a tour and got some firsthand information in the Delta school systems and looking around there. And one of the things he said was, hey, we're going to have to figure out a way to incentivize teachers to want to move there. For one, there's just not a lot there.
I believe there's 6,000 teaching vacancies in the state right now.
Yeah.
I think that's the number Jamie had. That Jamie Creel is who I was speaking to there. He's an insurance rep now, insurance agent now, but he's retired. He's in the education system long enough to retire from it. He was a coach, principal in the Warren School District, Vicksburg area. I'm not sure if it was Warren County or Vicksburg in general, but in that area, and a coach, a principal, all that stuff. And he brought that up and said, I think there's 6,300, 6,500 vacancies. I mean, I think there's a lot of areas we can look at when it comes to fixing this thing. And I like what you said there. Maybe you incentivize teachers that are willing to go to the Delta. And look, I have floated a crazy idea. I was like, before we do this school choice and we do this blanket policy and we spend all this money, what if you offered people that live in the Delta who aren't working, people who don't have a job, their own government assistance? What if we offered a relocation program for, I mean, it ain't that many people. How much could that really cost? You offer a relocation program to some government subsidized housing and get them into a district without flipping the system on its head.
Yeah. Hey, man, I got to take a commercial break. I knew I'd get talking to you and miss that. I missed my first commercial break. We'll be right back with Clay Edwards. Continue this conversation about school choice, education freedom, and the concerns that have to be addressed as the policy is developed into a final phase. We know it's coming, but we can do it right or as close to right as possible for the kids instead of helping other people out in various ways. Focus on the children first. We'll be right back with Clay Edwards.
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work. Try to see a doctor this week or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Go to worldviewhealthcare.com. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. worldviewhealthcare.com. That's worldviewhealthcare.com.
The emergency kit available at worldviewhealthcare.com. Make sure you don't have to go to urgent care. I got pneumonia. I didn't have to go. I took this last year. Stayed at home, went to bed.
Let me ask you this. Is there a middle ground on this school choice thing that maybe takes the public school transfer thing? Because that seems to be, well, that's one of the things, at least the people I talk to, that's the thorn in their side, is the rewarding, and they're going to say that ain't what it is, but there ain't no other way to put it. It's the rewarding of people. It's rewarding Jacksonians and their bad voting habits with a better opportunity in a district. Because I look at it like this, Chad. It's tough to run a city the right way.
It is.
You got to tighten your belt buckle. You got to upset some people to do the right things. To run a strict operation, you upset people. You make a lot of enemies too.
Yes.
Discipline is tough. And to allow these people who don't like discipline, who don't have discipline, who shun discipline, to allow them to say, look, you have no discipline in the rest of your life, but we're going to reward you by allowing you to continue to live a discipline-free life of sorts by your kid coming over here. I think it sets a terrible, terrible example for, and it also the property values. I do believe it's going to hurt property values. With the property values in Brandon, for example, are up here because of the school districts. So
I would support public school to public school voucher but you got to respect the traditional district first, those that chose to live there.
Yeah.
So the families that live in these traditional school districts, their children have to have first priority. And then if there's space, then others can come in. And
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. And we're talking about school choice. It's a big policy debate and policy development effort to improve our education freedom here in the state of Mississippi. And Mississippi's being looked at because of something called the Mississippi Miracle, where we've done well in some areas with schools and test scores and those kind of things. So I see this effort from Speaker of the House, Jason White, as an effort to improve policy and most of all, improve things for kids. But there are a lot of people that disagree with how this policy is developing and want to make sure that we're doing the right things by the kids. Clay Edwards is a friend of mine. He's a talk show host in Jackson, Mississippi. As a matter of fact, Clay, your handle on X is Save Jackson, because that's what I see as your life's mission that you've chosen to strap on at this point in your life.
I've veered from it some, but that's how it started for sure.
Yeah. I mean, and Jackson is the capital of the state, and any city is worth saving and everything. But this issue, if I like what you said there about getting people, giving people incentives for their bad voting habits. Oh my gosh. I hadn't even thought of this issue from that perspective until I watched that clip there. And you're absolutely right. Why should we reward those folks for bad voting habits? Now the state senator, I can't remember his last name, but Chad was his first name,
McMahon.
had an idea there about respecting the existing district and prioritizing those folks and everything. My question is, on the public to public transfer part of this, are there mechanisms that can be put into a piece of legislation that would answer the concerns from the folks that you hear from every day, because you're the one that's hearing it?
I don't believe so. We don't want anybody living in Jackson to be able to continue living in Jackson and come over to Brandon unless there's a medical reason, a learning disability, something like that. And let's just, for example, say that Brandon has a spectacular class that works with children with autism or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's space available that any kid from Rankin County or Brandon, then Rankin County, and then say an outside district could look at it. If you got Brandon, then you got Rankin County, then say Hines County or Warren County, or another district, JPS, whatever. Then you could look at something like that, as long as the people who live here are being taken care of first. And then if you just have chosen to live in Fondren or Belhaven in downtown Jackson because it's a cute, quaint, very liberal neighborhood, and you like living around like-minded people, but you don't want to, because all those it's the whitest, ironically, it's the whitest neighborhoods in the state of Mississippi, or in Jackson, Mississippi. They're the liberal, little artsy-fartsy, LGBTQ neighborhoods. And they all send their kids to private school. But if you choose to live there, I don't think you should be able to send your kids to a public school in the adjoined county. I just don't think so. I don't think you should be able to. You've made a decision to live there because you want to be around like-minded people. Well, same energy over here, Colonel. I want my children, my grandchildren, my neighbors' children to be able to go to school with like-minded kids. And I know this, people are saying, Clay, that's not fair. These are kids. They all deserve the same opportunity. My life's not fair. And we've got to quit treating it like it is. Because I made a statement that really ruffled some feathers. I was like, this is beginning to feel a little bit like socialism to me when you tell me that everybody deserves an equal starting point. And that's just not life. If everybody doesn't deserve an equal starting point, life's not fair. It's never going to be fair. You're not going to legislate it into being fair. I wish I had been born into a billionaire family. I wasn't. But I love my family nonetheless. I'm just saying, if they had a little more money, it would have been great. But that's not life. And we have to quit trying to think we can fix everybody's situation. And I just go back to this, man. The only people that think this is a good idea in my circles that live in the Tri-County area that I've talked to, and this includes Democrats, nobody wants this. The Democrats don't want it because they have a love affair with the public school system. They don't want to see any public money go to private schools. So for different reasons, we're on the same team for this thing. And I would never be on the same team with them. But the people that I know that I've talked to, my neighbors out here in Brandon, they don't want it because of the culture rot. They don't want it. One bad apple can absolutely ruin the bunch. For example, Northwest Rankin, one of the biggest schools out here, if not the biggest school in central Mississippi. Now, this wasn't school choice, obviously. These were kids that had just moved from Jackson to Northwest Rankin in pretty much the same year or same 2 years. There was two brothers, two black brothers, single mother, moved into a neighborhood over here. And within about 2 months of each other, they couldn't leave the Jackson, and they got themselves killed doing what I just call Democrat death culture stuff. And
oh, man.
It's sad. It truly is sad. But one was selling a gun to a guy and decided he was going to rob the guy, and he got himself shot in his driveway. The other had gone to Jackson and got caught up in some Jackson stuff and got killed. All right, there's two. Then the third guy, a different brother, not related, but another young black kid that came over from Jackson, moved in with his mother out in the county, in Rankin County, and was going to Northwest Rankin. He gets pulled over with a group of guys. Colonel, he decided his natural reaction to getting pulled over was get out and run, pull a gun, and shoot a cop. Now, thank God, the cop had on a bulletproof vest. This happened on Lakeland Drive, right in front of the Applebee's there, as soon as you cross over the river. He pulls out a gun first, and shoots the cop. He gets ended. His life ends right there. These are all kids that had just moved from Jackson and they were going to Northwest Rankin. And that is what that's what I'm calling culture rot. I'm telling you, as a young kid that grew up in the 90s in Jackson, I wanted to hang out with the bad guys, the tough guys, the black guys, the white guys, whatever, man. I wanted to hang out with the roughest of the rough because I wanted to prove that I could be that too. I could be the tough guy, pissing contest, lack of a better term. And can I put this on paper? Can I validate this? I can't tell you that this is going to happen, but I know young men. I was a young man at one time. And at the end of the day, I still think, when you got some testosterone pumping through your veins, you still want to every now and then, hey, hold my beer, so to say.
Sure.
I'm scared I'm scared that there's you ever heard the term, I want to show you how hard I am, how tough I am, another phrase, tough. I want to show you how hard I am. I'm scared that we're going to get into a inferiority complex from the guys out here in the suburbs who already think that people from Jackson and these other places don't think they're hard. They think they're soft around the edges. Well, I'll show you I'm hard. And you get into a pissing contest because the guy from Jackson comes over. And again, can I quantify it? It's hard to, but I just made you 3 examples there in the same calendar year, all kids that had just came over from Jackson that I 100% believe would have been school choice candidates if they hadn't found their way moved over here. And I just think that's the better example of what we're going to get out of this than the kid, the stellar rock star education kid that's coming over and for a better education from Brandon. So then what are you going to do? Let me ask this. You got a kid over there with a 4.0 all A's, however they average it out, however they look at what's considered a great student. So we're just going to pick and pillage all the good students from another district. I don't, what is the standard to be able to say who can come over?
Yeah, that's one of the questions I have.
Exactly. This kid's already got a 4.0. Well, does he really need to come over here? He's obviously doing well in the environment he's in. Then you say, okay, well, this kid is failing at everything. They clearly need to do something right. Well, hold on. We're going to reward failure. Are we going to,
it's a tough situation. We got to take another break. We got to take another break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation because I have some questions for you about those issues with the kids that sadly got themselves killed. We'll be right back with Clay Edwards from Jackson, Mississippi.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. I want to thank you for all your support at wvwfoundation.com that helps make possible pushing out 24/7 content for free. Without your support, we'd have to put it all behind a paywall. But thanks to you and your support through our foundation, we're able to push it out for free as a broadcast service and broadcast ministry of WVW Foundation. Please consider going there and setting up an automatic monthly contribution, or go there and make an occasional contribution. If you prefer to support us through the mail, you'll find our mailing address there at wvwfoundation.com. You can also call and make your contribution over the phone by calling 901-825-0652. That's 901-825-0652. Again, all these details are available at wvwfoundation.com. Thank you for your support as we try to help people around the world understand the times through the lens of a Christian worldview.
You're talking about charter schools. Charter schools are public schools, legally they're public schools, so there are, I assume there's some accountability for those. There's an oversight board, but for a private school, there is, you say the parent is the accountability, but you don't hold anybody else to those standards. You think I'm going to make sure they're spending public money correctly. You're not saying that should be done with private schools that get public money. They shouldn't have to be held to the same standard.
Yeah, no, that standard is applied in multiple places across our government. So, for example, you can use the GI Bill or you can use a Pell Grant to go to any number of universities. What's the accountability for the universities that are receiving Pell Grant dollars?
To say that's a fair point, but
it is.
But with to put one But why shouldn't we at least, if you have the opportunity,
Tell you what, I'm gonna let you think about it. I think there was another one back there. Just simmer on it, think on it, and then you can ask me.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. That was Mississippi State Auditor Shad White, who may be running for governor. I'm not sure yet on that one, but taking down a lefty reporter talking about keeping track, oversight on public money for private schools as opposed to public schools. And my guest today is Clay Edwards, and we're talking about the school choice effort, education freedom effort that Jason White, the Speaker of our House here in Mississippi, has prioritized how to improve with an effort to improve those policies to bring more choice to the students and parents of the state of Mississippi. But there's some significant challenges, and there's a whole a group of conservatives, folks who I would say are conservative, that are opposed to a lot of the idea. Not all of it, but a lot of it. And Clay, I apologize having to go to a break again, but you mentioned three. You mentioned three scenarios. The three situations. All three of those were those parents had actually moved out there, right, to Rankin County.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah, I just don't know. I don't know if you can develop a public policy that would address that piece of it. You got to focus more on the cultural rot that's located in certain areas of the state, I guess, right?
Sure. And I guess I use that as an example because, again, Jackson is my example it's my case study for all this, and it's the case study for the people who live around me.
Yeah.
And what you can sit here and say is those are parents who are trying to do what was right by their children, right? Get them into a better school district. But if you don't fix what's going on inside the house, if you don't fix what's in the heart there, if you don't fix the cultural rot that your kids are involved in or influenced by, it doesn't matter what you do. So I don't know that school choice is going to be the answer. I don't know. I'm telling you, man, I have not met a single person, Republican, conservative, that's not involved in a conservative think tank or in the media that's for this school choice stuff. But they're having it repackaged, and the people are telling them, don't you think parents should have some say-so in their children's education? And they're like, well, yeah, I think that's a good idea. Oh, do you then ask the rest of the question? Oh, do you think kids from Jackson should be able to come out here to Rankin County schools without moving here? And the answer would be no 100% of the time.
I mean, how do you? One of the questions that I have about that is how do you control it? And the senator that you were interviewing in that, at the beginning of that last segment, Chad McNair, he mentioned some kind of maybe quota limits and those kind of things, because you can't overfill classrooms, number one, and then a prioritization scheme. But I don't know. I mean, if how do you address that in the law? Is because you're going to always end up with people that go, well, yeah, but my kid would do better if I could move them to such and such a place, and I can't do that. But there is some school choice in Jackson. You mentioned the liberal white neighborhoods. They're choosing to go to private school, and I wanted to get your take on it, on the oversight of the public funding, allowing public funding to follow the child. Under that scheme, are folks okay with that?
Everybody I've talked to doesn't have a problem with that on the conservative side. I do think that I'm okay. I speak for myself and the people I've spoken to. They are okay with that. That is your money. As far as we're all concerned, we're okay with that. If that's what you want to do. Some people do have a little trepidation on it. And my understanding is the private schools aren't exactly lining up to do this either, because they don't want to take the government oversight, the federal oversight that's going to come with taking federal money. Does that mean no prayer in school? But sure, we're living high on the hog right now. The next couple of years with Trump in office, with the Board of Education, on its wit's end. I've lived enough life at 48 years old, and I know you're older than I am, to know that this does end. The Democrats do win again.
Yeah.
I mean, so what does that mean for federal money then?
On the Democrat side, you talk to a lot of Democrats too. And they do have a love affair with public schools. Look, I come from one side of my family is many public school teachers, so I'm not about dismantling the public school as an entity, an idea for
Agreed.
sure. But you would think that on the Democrat side, let me ask you what they're thinking that when you talk to them, because if I'm a Democrat and I'm living in Jackson, Mississippi, and I got a teenager and he's a good kid, but he just needs to have a better school environment. Why would I be opposed to being able to get the tax dollars and go to a charter or a private school?
So I think if your boots on ground, everyday Democrats, your black Democrats in Jackson, for example, I think boots on ground, if you sat down and told them, had a conversation with them and really explained what school choice was, they would be world levels of stupidity stupid if they said they were against it. Yeah. I mean, I could absolutely, I see why, look, I get why, if you live in Jackson, why you would absolutely be for school choice. You would be an idiot not to be for it. That'd be like me being an idiot if somebody gave me a winning lottery ticket, like one of these right here, and said, Clay, it's yours. It's a winner, guaranteed. And I said, no, I don't want it. I mean, school choice is automatically going to help Jackson property values. It could actually help bring a middle class to Jackson if middle class people could live there and send their kids to school wherever they wanted to. I could see how it would benefit. But then what about the people that live over here that had to make that tough sacrifice, had to tighten up that belt buckle to move over here and do all things the right way, that don't want the culture right that's going to come inevitably from Jackson? I mean, look, people have been figuring out a way to send their kids to school wherever they want to for a long time. I just think I don't think that should be state funded. I think people should continue to have to figure out a way to send their kids to school where they want them to go. I mean, there's a lot of things that I have to figure out how to do that I don't necessarily like. I have to figure out how to pay my bills every month as a self-employed radio host.
Oh, I had to figure out how to pay for homeschooling my youngest son. I mean, I had to pull him out of the system. It just wasn't capable of giving him an environment he could learn in. So I homeschooled him, but I could afford to do it. You know,
a lot of people in Jackson, what I would recommend is staying with your child's father and being a two-income household. That would be a great start.
That was one of the questions I wanted to ask you. You've been looking at Jackson for a long time. You're from there. Your parents still live there. What are there people that can and will run for office there that should be able to be competitive in an election that have the ideas that you talk about all the time? And that's one of them. Stay with the father of your children.
I hope. I mean, you would hope, right? But until they're so married to the Democrat plantation that until it becomes, there's no leadership in the Democrat Party nationally. That's one problem. Yeah. And one of the problems the Democrats have, and I believe that we're showing that this is a conservative issue too, right now when it comes to school choice, national policy doesn't always trickle down to working good locally and in civic and local civic policy. It just doesn't. Like, there's no reason all the LGBTQ LMNOP stuff that's trickling down from DC should be affecting anything I do in my life. All that woke CRT BLM garbage should not trickle down into law enforcement on a local level. We've seen them try it. We've seen what defunding the police in one way or another does in a place like Jackson. Did they defund it financially? No, but they defunded it through policy. They morally defunded it, morally bankrupted it, and took all the teeth out of it. They made it nobody respected the police, didn't allow them to do their jobs. That doesn't work. That's why it became the murder capital of America 4 out of the last 5 years, because they defunded. They followed the national political landscape, and I believe that's a mistake that the conservatives are making here. You get these think tankers. Like Americans for Prosperity and all these people who will come out and say, oh, Clay's against the Trump agenda. Well, Trump's wrong on this. Just in my opinion, Trump is wrong on this school choice. He's a billionaire who sends kids to the best of the best schools. I don't need to hear from Trump on this particular topic. He's out of touch on this.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, because I don't think that most people and you just mentioned Trump and what he probably did was send his kids to the best school because he could. The public to public transfer piece, I think it's the least thought about option when it comes to school choice. which is why I'm glad you're bringing it up and we're talking about it, because it is very, very tricky finding a policy that could make that work.
If they remove that, I would support whatever bill Jason White and then put forth.
Mm-hmm.
But as of right now, I've spoken to all of the Rankin County delegation that I've spoke with. They're not voting for it, because even if they think it's a decent bill, because the people don't want it, they're scared to death they're going to lose their seats if they vote for it. We've already seen it happen, and it's not even a thing yet. Just guys who ran on, I'm going to support school choice, they didn't win their races. Right here in the county.
Yeah.
So
that's what I hear on the ground here too. I hear that on the ground too. If you go that route whole hog, then you're not going to win.
Yeah, what was I want to call it a gallows? What was it? The guillotine. It's laying your head in the guillotine.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, we got to take our last break. When we come back, we'll see another little clip. But this is about Michigan talking about Mississippi. I want to get Clay's take on have we done as well as we're saying that the numbers are saying we have, or is there more still left to do to continue to improve our education system so all the kids are taken care of, even beyond the school choice issue? Be right back with Clay Edwards.
News is moving faster than ever, and so are we. Worldview Tube brings you 24/7 live stream coverage and now real-time alerts when it matters most. Once you have the Worldview Tube app installed, exit the app and navigate your way to Settings. In Settings, locate the tab labeled Notifications. Select the Notifications tab. Scroll down until you locate the Worldview Tube app icon. Select the tab, and here you can turn on and customize your notification experience for the Worldview Tube app. News doesn't wait, and neither should you. Turn on push notifications to stay informed. Every headline as it happens.
One thing I will say is this: as Republicans for far too long, we have let the Democrats take the lead on education. Enough. It's over. We've got the right policies. It's time for us to lead on this issue. We've heard about the Mississippi miracle. I love talking about this because Mississippi is far poorer than we are as a state, and they spend far less on education than we do, yet with the right leadership and the right reforms, they went from 49th in the entire country to top 10, again, because of the right reforms. What did they do? Early assessments, kindergarten, first, second, third grade, 3 assessments per year. They identified those children that were struggling immediately. Then they took and they invested into high-quality tutors in targeted support. Listen, we can sit here and talk about teachers all day long, but if you have a teacher with 30 students in their classroom, they do not have the time to focus on each of those children. They need high-quality tutors in those classrooms to help. We've got to make the bold move of saying, you know what? We can no longer live in a world where we just advance a kid along from the 3rd to 4th grade. If they can't read, they've got to be held back. But if you're going to do that, you better empower parents in this process and make certain that they are there, that you're communicating with them, and that they have every resource available. We've heard merit pay. I believe, and I will say this as a Republican, I believe that the state of Michigan ought to have the highest paid teachers in the country. But you know what? It should be based on merit. They should not receive 1 plum cent of a raise just because they're there for another year and they're getting a step increase. Let's pay the great ones and let's get rid of the bad ones. Expand school choice. And you know what? That means doing everything that we can as Republicans to protect homeschooling in the state of Michigan.
All right, thanks, Tom.
As a former prosecutor, I'll stop with this. As a former prosecutor, I can tell you this: if a child cannot read, if they drop out of school and they cannot read, you've essentially created a pipeline to a welfare check or a prison cell. We've got to acknowledge that. We've got to take the lead on education. We can do it.
Okay. Governor.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. It's Truth Thursday, and this is going to go down as one of the best Truth Thursday shows we've done. My guest today is Clay Edwards, a talk show host from Jackson, Mississippi, a native of Jackson, Mississippi. And the discussion is about what do we do to make our best policy from a school choice and education freedom perspective and take care of the kids versus shovel money to places and organizations that that's going to be the outcome instead of the kids being taken care of. And Clay, I like that clip there because it's a guy from Michigan talking about the state that I chose to live in 3 years ago. And I come from a state where I ran for office, and I was always able to point over to next door to Mississippi and say, yeah, but they're number 50 in public education. And now I live in this state where we've actually had some success. And I'm not saying it's perfect, but you know, the things that gentleman was talking about are things that appear to be working. And he said the thing about school choice that always gets my attention, you know, make sure we're protecting homeschoolers too. Now, that's not perfect either. There are some parents that just can't do homeschool that set out to do it, and it's crap. It turns out to be crap. So we have to have good policy that takes care of the kids in the end. And I think I want to end the show where we started, in that it's got to be about the kids. Can we improve this and get it done, or do you think the public's going to be a showstopper?
It's going to be a showstopper. But there's no limitations that I've currently seen, other than they just kind of go back to if there's space, they'll do it. And they're opening themselves up to lawsuits like we've never seen, and they keep saying there's not going to be a transportation aspect to this. And I'm on the other side of the fence on this. I think if you do it, you have to have a transportation aspect to it.
Yeah,
I really do. If you're going to do it, it's unfair not to. And I'll go back to the mother that I met that has 3 jobs, who they say would have skin in the game because she can't take the time to take her kid to and from. Where I think that she absolutely has skin in the game. The fact that she has to work 3 jobs to keep a roof on over her children's heads, food on their table. I'm assuming she's not on any type of government assistance. If she's juggling 3 jobs, she probably makes too much to be on government assistance of any substantial value, other than maybe some EBT for food. So that mother, we're going to punish her. I don't want to go back to, I don't want to be a hypocrite here and talk about what's fair, what's not. But if we're going to break the mold and say that we have to, it's about the kids, we got to be able to send them somewhere. I think you almost have to have a transportation, maybe educational Uber vouchers of some sort. I don't think it has to be the most expensive thing. I think there are ways. I think the Uber aspect is actually, create some kind of ride share program that works. It doesn't have to be buses. I think, a $15 Uber ride, if we're only talking about 5 kids here and there, it can't be that expensive, in my opinion.
That's actually a good idea. I agree with you. There has to be a transportation aspect. One of the big concerns that I hear down here when I'm talking to folks is the public schools down here are really good. They're really well thought of, no matter what community they're in, and folks don't want to change what's already working. So you have that challenge, and that gets to the public transfer issue of it. That most people don't have a concern about charter schools or private schools or homeschooling. I homeschooled for 2 years here in Mississippi, and I had no problems with the way the law is. Although
in front of me, but so I don't have the numbers in front of me, but the charter schools that are in place right now ain't exactly setting the world on fire.
I've never been impressed with the charter schools. I used one once in a different state, and I wasn't impressed with it at all.
I like the idea of it, but I think what you're going to end up having in Jackson, for example, again, it's my case study. You're going to have a lot of these churches open up these for-profit schools, and I don't have a problem with it if that's what people want to do. If that's an option. If that's a happy medium, I'm okay with you having that choice. But that's you. And here's another thing, Colonel, that I think gets overlooked a little bit. Community is built in the schools. These kids, they live near their classmates. They go to school with their classmates for the most part. And I haven't seen the numbers, but I'm going to go out on a limb here. For the most part, from first grade all the way through graduation, they go to school with these people. And then most people don't leave the town they grew up in. That community is built in these schools. It's the foundation of these communities and being like-minded. And I'm not saying that means you vote the same way on everything or you agree on everything, but you're like-minded in the sense that you agree to act right and, you know, have your skin in the game and act right and be okay with broken window policing and tightening the belt buckle and making tough decisions when you need to. If you're letting these outsiders come in from wherever, they just come to school here, they poach our education system, then they go back to wherever they live, you know, you're eliminating the whole program. I know some people will say, well, with homeschooling, well, you know, we let these homeschool kids play sports at these schools. Well, I don't have a problem with that. They still live in the neighborhoods.
Yeah.
That's the school they would go to. Now, and that's the other thing with this too. And that's how they're trying to get people on board. Oh, just imagine the kids we could get. There's going to be a sports aspect to this that gets abused, and it's going to be like the NIL and the transfer portal for high school. Oh man, they got this really good quarterback, this black kid in Jackson. He just wasn't going to Provine. We can get him out here to Brandon or Northwest or wherever. Man, he can light it up, state championships. That ain't fair. So we're just going to let, because he's good at football, now he gets a free pass. And I'm a sports guy. But I don't like that.
Oh, you know that's coming. Look, we live where we live in the SEC, you know, so you know that's going to happen. We're so competitive in sports at every age here that you're going to have some parents and some administrators that's what they do is try to wiggle around and get that. I got a question from my live audience. Go ahead, real quick.
I just want to say this real quick. If you allow a kid to come in on the school choice, the public to public, that doesn't move, that doesn't transfer from moving, they're just going to still live in their current district and then go to a different one, they should have to sit out a year before they play sports. I think that will fix that problem.
Yeah, it sure will. Well, let's take one question from our live audience real quick before we get to the end of the show. Go ahead. Shell's our host.
We have Rigo, sir.
My question is, have you examined the positive effects that the transfer school of choice portal is actually having in California? My son, as an example, is actually at a way better school than the district school that he was supposed to go to, and he used the school of choice inter-district transfer to get there. Of course, he had to have good grades. It's an impacted school. And, you know, he's doing great. He's in a better high school. And yeah, have you examined that? Because it's actually positive here for a lot of kids to do well. Thank you.
So it's a formal process though, right?
Yes, it's a process. You got to like fill out the paperwork and show them, hey, he has good grades. And my other. Well,
thanks for that question, Clay. That's an interesting, I mean, that's kind of where I was going was, is there a way to make it to where it's feasible, I guess, the public to public piece, so it can stay in there and not bring the whole house down?
Well, he asked if I'd seen the number. Look, I understand that it would be beneficial. That would be the point of the whole thing, right? Is you take a kid and you put them in a better school, and well, lo and behold, they do better. I get it. I do, but my argument is that what about the kids that are already here? What about the community? What about the potential culture rot that comes into it? What are going to be the qualifying? Who gets to do it? Who decides that you get 100 kids that'll apply, but there's only 3 seats at this one school? What are the determining factors that we let those go? Is race a factor? That's a big concern of mine. We've been bending over backwards and giving minorities everything just because they're minorities. And what about white kids over there? Do they have the same equal shot as the black kid if all other things are equal? I think take race off the table. That shouldn't even be a box on the application. In my opinion.
We need to go back to a purely merit-based system in all things, and not just public schooling. Well, man, thank you so much. We don't have enough time on a 1-hour show, but I'm going to plan on bringing you back as we see this process play out and we learn more about what's actually going to happen in the legislature, so we can talk about it and get these views aired out, man. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thank you, man. I'm about to go do a filling in for a guy on radio here in Jackson today. I've been out a couple of days filming a movie myself, so I'm looking forward to get back on the radio and have some fun. Colonel, to your audience, thank you all so much, and give me a follow at SaveJXN across all social platforms.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you very much. Hopefully I'll get to be on your radio show again soon. Clay Edwards, Jackson, Mississippi. Go check him out. Give him a follow. I'll see you Monday. It's More War Monday.